What is going on, good people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope all y'all are doing well out there. For this video, I figured we kind of just sit back, chill, and talk about lenses. In a lot of my videos in the comment sections, I often get the question, which Fujifilm camera should I choose? Regardless of if it's the X-T30 Mark III, an X-T50, XM5, XE5, XS20. And to me, modern Fujifilm cameras are so good these days that it's really about the lenses that you pair with these cameras. So regardless of if you have a compact Fujifilm camera like the X-T30 Mark III, an XM5, an X-T50, maybe an XE5, or you have something slightly larger like an XS20, an X-T5, or an XH2S, wherever you fall on the Fujifilm spectrum of cameras, I kind of just like to go over some of my favorite lenses and in my opinion some of the best lenses that really strike a good balance between delivering really good image quality for both photo and video at a good value. Now as you can see here, we got quite a few lenses to go through, so I will put them into specific categories, and though I either own most of these lenses or I have tried them in the past, there might be one or two lenses that I mentioned that I actually haven't tried, but I hear really good things about. And so with all that said, y'all, let's go ahead and talk about some lenses. So the first category I want to get into is pancake lenses. Now, these lenses are not going to deliver the highest image quality possible, but basically with pancake lenses, these are the ones you're going to want to put on your Fujifilm camera when you want the absolute most compact setup, but still being able to get pretty good image quality. And of course, I cannot talk about pancake lenses without mentioning Fuji's goated lenses. Of course, I'm talking about the 27mm f2.8, the 18mm f2, and the recently announced 23mm f2.8. Now, I personally own the 27mm and the 18mm, and I recently tried out the 23mm along with the Fujifilm X-E5. And what I'll say about all three of these lenses is that they definitely keep your setup nice and compact. And when you're out and about using these lenses on your Fujifilm camera, especially if it's a compact Fujifilm camera, people don't really notice you as much. People don't really take you as serious. People don't really feel bothered by seeing you out and about using your camera around them. I'm not gonna say these lenses make your camera look like a toy camera, but they make your camera look like an unserious camera. And so with these lenses on your Fuji camera, you can fly under the radar pretty well. And as far as performance, all of these lenses produce some really good image quality. In my experience, all three of the lenses resolve well on both the 26 megapixel sensor and the 40 megapixel sensor. They all have the aperture ring, so if you're used to that on Fujifilm lenses, it has that. And they are really quick to focus as well. The one thing I will say about the focusing on these lenses is that the focus motors are actually pretty loud. And so if you're gonna use these lenses for video, I would recommend using it for the type of video that you're gonna overlay audio on top of, like music. If you're shooting video where the audio is going to be super important, you may want to choose some other lenses because the focusing motors on those lenses can be pretty loud and your camera will pick up the sound. But stepping outside of Fujifilm, there are also options from TTArtisan. TTArtisan has a 25mm f2.8 and a 27mm f2.8 if I'm not mistaken. I actually use the 27mm f2.8, and what I'll say is it's a pretty good lens, a lot like the Fujifilm lenses. It does have the aperture ring. It is fast to focus. The focus motors are a little loud. The one thing I will say about the TTArtisan 27mm is that it is very prone to vignetting. Now, some may call that character, others may call it a flaw, but if you're not into vignetting, that may not be the lens for you. If you are into vignetting, TTArtisan might just be the one. And if you're looking to step up your image quality in a pancake lens, I highly recommend the options from Voigtlander. They have an 18mm f2 and they have a 27mm f2 as well. I personally owned the 27mm f2, and what I'll say about that is the image quality was better than my 27mm Fuji pancake lens. It was higher quality glass. The images did look a little bit sharper on the Voigtlander, but there are two caveats with these Voigtlander lenses. One, they are manual focus only, so you will have to manually focus the lens. And then two, the Voigtlander lenses are a little bit pricier. And so those are two factors you're really gonna have to take into consideration when comparing these Voigtlander lenses to other Pancake options out there. And as honorable mention, I have to talk about the Viltrox 28mm f4.5 chip lens, because it is by far the most compact setup on a Fujifilm camera. It looks like a lens cap basically, and it has the smallest price at $99. For that $99, there are some compromises though. That f4.5 aperture is constant, so you cannot change the aperture at all, and the lens does not have a filter thread on the front, and so you wouldn't be able to really attach a filter on the front of this lens unless you did some jimmy rigging. But at $99 and at the image quality that it's delivering with autofocus, I think it's a pretty good value. Now, if you don't mind stepping up a little bit in the size of the lens in order to gain higher image quality and the ability to shoot at lower apertures, then I think this next category is for you. And that is affordable compact primes. Now for me, the main set of primes that I use are these f1.4 primes from Viltrox. I have the 23mm, the 33mm, the 56mm, and the 13mm, which I'm actually filming on right now. And what I'll say about these primes is that these are basically my workhorse prime lenses. I have used them for everything from street photography to shooting San Diego Comic-Con, to shooting at the beach, to shooting on the Las Vegas Strip in low light, and as you can see, filming YouTube videos. These lenses are really great. They are really fast to focus. They all do have the aperture ring on there, and with this 13mm specifically, it's a really good video lens. I think Cine Dailies also uses this lens on his XH2S. He said it works great, and I have to agree. And all of these primes are reasonably affordable. The 23mm, 33mm, and 56mm, they range from about $240 to $250. The 13mm is a little bit more pricey. It's getting close to $500, but if you are looking for more affordable and compact options from Viltrox, Viltrox also does have their Air series of primes. Now those don't quite get to f1.4 aperture. Most of them are at f1.7, but they have a 15mm, a 25mm, a 35mm, and a 56mm. And if we're just talking about fun lenses in Viltrox's Air series, there's also the 9mm f2.8, which I actually do own, and it is a fun lens for just getting some nice wide creative shots for both photo and video. Now outside of Viltrox, Fujifilm does also have their set of 1.4 primes, but the thing about those is those might be a little bit bigger and they might be a little bit pricier than the Viltrox options. And of course, there are also prime options from TTArtisan, but to be honest with y'all, I haven't really used most of them, but I did make a video on their 75mm f2 lens, which I deemed as peak compact range because it does deliver that nice 75mm focal length on a Fujifilm camera, and it's nice and compact, and it's at f2, which is a pretty decent aperture for shooting in low light as well. And so I think the peak compact range name holds up for the TTArtisan 75mm f2. Next up, let's talk zooms. Now I gotta be real with y'all. I mainly use zooms strictly for video, but there has been a time or two where I could only bring one lens and I was able to bring a zoom for both photo and for video, and it worked out pretty well for me. And the go-to combo of zooms that I've used for Fujifilm cameras are the Sigma 10-18 and the Sigma 18-50. And what I love about these two lenses specifically is that they are really compact, and together they offer a really good range. In fact, I would go as far to say that if you're new to Fujifilm, you would just need these two lenses and you can shoot probably 90% of what you need to shoot, both for photo and for video. I will say neither of these two lenses are stabilized, so it would benefit you to use them with a camera that does have IBIS, but if you have a steady hand, you can also use them with cameras like the XM5, the X-T30 Mark III, you know, Fujifilm cameras that do not have any type of IBIS. There is also Fujifilm's own 10-24 and their 18-55, but what I don't like about those two lenses are, one, they don't really have a constant f2.8 aperture. They are stabilized, but they are also a little bit bigger than the Sigma options. And so with the Sigma 10-18, I see that as the go-to lens for vlogging. At 10mm, you can definitely get a nice wide field of view without having to hold the camera out too far out in front of you. And so that helps with keeping the camera stable, keeping the camera close to your body when you're walking with it. And you know, just vlogging at 10mm, you're able to get a pretty good deal in the shot. But if you go in tight to the 18mm end of that lens, that equates to the equivalent equivalent of the Ricoh GR3, Ricoh GR4. And so you could use that lens for street photography as well. The 18 to 50 is even more versatile. In fact, that is a lens that you can basically just bring with you by itself, and it will cover a wide range of shooting scenarios for both photo and video. f2.8 is plenty enough for low light shooting. I have used it for some nighttime shoots and it worked out pretty well. And it gives me a pretty good range, especially if I'm using it with something like my X-T50 or an X-E5, where I can crop into the 40 megapixel sensor in order to get a little bit extra range. And the 18 to 50 might even be a little bit smaller than the 10 to 18, at least skinnier anyway. It might be a little bit longer, but it is a thinner lens than the 10 to 18, and they look really nice and compact on your Fujifilm camera. But I do have an admission to make. I actually did recently sell my 18 to 50 lens in favor of another zoom lens. And the lens I got is in a category of zoom lenses that I like to call the do everything lens. And this is the Tamron 17 to 70 millimeter f2.8. Now the reason I swapped this one out for the 18 to 50 is because basically it has a larger range, it has stabilization built in so I can use it with my XM5 better, and it is just a more versatile lens. It is basically a do everything lens. Now, to be honest, it is a large lens, so it does look a little conspicuous on my Fuji XM5 or something like an X-T30 Mark III, but it is just a great do everything lens. Now there is another do everything lens that you might want to consider because it already does have a rich following based off of its predecessor, and that is the Sigma 17 to 40 f 1.8. Now, as I mentioned, it has a big following because of its predecessor, and that was the 18 to 35 millimeter f1.8. And that has been a goated lens, not just for Fujifilm, but also for Canon, for Sony, and other camera brands as well. And so that 17 to 40 f1.8 as the updated version of the goated lens, it already has a pretty big following. In fact, it is pretty hard to buy right now at the time of this recording. And so when trying to make a decision between these two do everything zoom lenses, the Sigma 17 to 40 f1.8 and the Tamron 17 to 70 f2.8, you really have to think about which camera you'll be using them on and what you're gonna be shooting. Now with the Sigma 17 to 40, this is gonna be a really good portrait lens because it does have that f1.8 aperture. It's also gonna be really good in low light. I will say it does also have some really nice bells and whistles as far as having an aperture ring. It has custom buttons. It is an internal zoom, so when you zoom into 40 millimeters, the lens doesn't extend at all, and so that's really nice. And overall, it's just a really premium lens that delivers some really good image quality. But it is missing some things, namely stabilization. And so the Sigma 17 to 40 wouldn't work as well for me on my XM5 as something like the Tamron 17 to 70. With the Tamron 17 to 70, like I mentioned, it does have stabilization, so I can't use it with cameras that either have IBIS or don't have IBIS. It does have a better range, so it extends all the way to 70 millimeters versus 40 millimeters on the Sigma, and it still delivers pretty good image quality at a cheaper price than the Sigma 17 to 40. As far as size goes, both of these lenses are about the same size. They're about the same height, same width, same weight. The 17 to 70 does get bigger as you zoom into 70 because it does extend versus the 17 to 40 that doesn't. But basically, these lenses have about the same profile and they both deliver really good image quality. I think the Sigma might be a little bit better as far as image quality, but it's negligible differences. And so those are some factors about these two do-all lenses that you might want to consider when you're trying to make a decision between the two. And then the last category is the fun lens category. Now, I only have two lenses in this category. One is a photo lens and then one is a video lens. For the photo lens, it is the Brightin Star 35mm f 0.95 lens, f0.95. That is a very low aperture and it is an awesome portrait lens. It really gives you some really good bokeh, completely obliterates the background, and the Brightin Star lens has a lot of really good character. And so overall, it is a very fun lens to use. It is manual focus only, so I do have to be very precise when I'm manual focusing on it, especially at f0.95. But overall, it's just a fun lens and it gives me some really good images with a lot of character. And so I love that lens. I don't think I'm ever gonna sell it, even though it wasn't even that expensive. Now on the video side, I also have the Sirui 20mm f1.8 Anamorphic lens. Now this is a lens that I actually used to film my little Christmas film that I made in a previous video. It is a fun lens to use, and it's an affordable anamorphic lens. And so I was using it on my Fujifilm X-M5 for making that little film. And what I loved about it is that even though it is a fairly large lens, it is still pretty lightweight. I was able to mount my X-M5 with this lens on to my dashboard for the driving part of that film, and it worked out really well. And I love the light streaks that it gave me. I have the gold version or the silver version, not the one with blue streaks, the gold streaks I think. But it worked out really well, and I think that the image quality was nice, the autofocusing was nice on it. I just really enjoyed using it. I actually wanted to use it more, and it's starting to get me more into anamorphic lenses, and so I gotta see what my next anamorphic lens is gonna be. But yeah, y'all, those are some of my favorite lenses to use on my Fujifilm cameras. Hopefully something in here that I mentioned resonates with you. Hopefully something piques your interest. I will leave links in the description to all of these lenses in case you want to check them out. They will be affiliate links, so I do earn a small commission, but those links will be down there. And yeah, that's all I got. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Do you have any of the lenses that I talked about? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Do you have any other recommendations for lenses? Go ahead and drop all that down in the comments. I'll be checking them out. I'll be probably making a shopping list if y'all have some good recommendations. But if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to stay informed on my future content. And until next time, y'all, I will catch y'all later.